that we can do to expedite the recovery. Trucks that we employ, the number of excavators at a particular parcel, the number of crews executing hazardous site assessments, asbestos abatement, debris removal are all things that I'm monitoring to